guys, so I'm gonna try to do a video doubleheader tonight. I have more to talk about, and it was a good break before. You'll see that it's a different kind of self-contained thing, even though it's related to the previous one. So what this is about is the important metaphysical implications of my having reached the point which is as deep as I can go with meth. So just like 5 or 6 months after I started using it, I got to the point where I should have stopped. Then with Zachary, I got to the point that sorry, not I should. I don't want to say should have stopped. Where I ought to have stopped. Then with Zachary, I got to where I needed to go. As far as meth, I got as far as I had to go there, and that part was necessary, even though it was against what I should do, because it was necessary for my work, for accomplishing what I want to accomplish in this lifetime, and creating fiveness is just about paramount to that. So, and then just about a week ago, I got to the point where meth can give me no more. That's new. So what I basically I realized that I had still been regressing or falling. I should say I had still been falling all these months of kind of using in an intermittent. Basically, what it comes down to is using about once a week, and I'm anxious about saying that. I don't want to focus either on my, particular patterns of drug use. But I just want to say that I realized that even though I had been seeming to, even though I'd found the exchanges with meth to be mostly satisfactory, mostly, not paying something I wasn't willing to pay for the experience. Despite that, I still had been going deeper into lower and lower things, and not realizing it until I got to this point where I could tell that I could go no further. So let me just go straight to a diagram. So, sorry. Okay, so this right angle here separates threeness from the twonesses beyond it. So that is the way I would say this is that this right angle is the omega angle of two-ness. Supposing that two-ness as such exists, and I'm ambivalent about that, I guess. So this this right angle, I wanted to mention, it does not represent the Christ. It represents a relationship between two objects that is where basically they're totally independent, fully self-sovereign, yet contrasting objects. Whereas in these lower twonesses, before you that don't that aren't right angles, there is some level of um, like defining each other, being intertwined, having the opposition, the cotomous opposition between each other, to some degree, supplant or design the objects themselves. So that's one reading of this diagram. So essentially, I realized that there's a very simple way to communicate what meth does, and the way is that meth brings you Anti-Mizzt. It takes you in the direction of Anti-Mizzt, down that spindle toward its end, and that, of course, is terrifying, you could say, because that's exactly the opposite of what I'm trying, wanting, needing, oughting to be doing. I need to be going Mizztward, and I have some catch up to do, like, obviously. So basically, another thing. So this right angle is it serves double duty. It's the highest of twonesses, but it's the lowest of threenesses. It's the lower bound for threeness, which remember is a sovereign realm. It is like a world, and you usually call it hell. You could also say the abyss, collective unconscious, etc. So, so basically, this is the very lowest part of the pattern, and to get lower, you have to totally change the geometry. Although it's amazingly subtle. So, once you get beneath that boundary, your angles are getting wider, but they're not getting wider in the sense that they grow with Mizztward motion. They're getting wider, but they're having to take a bunch of little little pattering backward steps. They have to get further away from the rightness of the right angle. In order to, I just mean, just simply, literally, in order to fit, into this giant right angle, which really should be infinite, should go to the ends of the page. you have to get further and further away from it to get bigger and bigger with the wider and wider with the angle that you're making. So now, so this is not in the pattern. I've made it clear before that threeness is the bottom of the pattern, and then zeroness exists, but that's not part of the pattern either. That's a separate thing. So what we have here is it's kind of complicated and hard to say because I'm not sure if it's between 2 and 0 or if it's between 1 and 0. I think of these as wave fronts creating interference patterns amongst them. This is the level where you get a holographic universe, where all of these twonesses kind of interfering and kind of coming across each other and just kind of moving around like waves. That creates a ripply kind of pattern that would exist at this level. It's very, to me, it's strikingly apparent that this is where the holographic universe can work. But I can't articulate that. I'm hoping that that you'll get the sense of it. So what we have is twonesses getting more and more dichotomous until eventually, ultimately, there's just onenesses. And onenesses, they're all indistinguishable from each other. They're interchangeable. They're just simple straight lines, and this goes on forever. Like this is a sea that's empty and dark. Up here is a sea as well, with interesting kind of interference going on in waves. Down here, I think you would still call it waves if you're moving through it, but really it's just your wake, and it goes down. I believed it was infinite. I now think it's probably not infinite. In any case, it's well, no, okay. I know it's not infinite, but it might be endless, and I'm not sure if it is. So down here, where there's nothing but onenesses, that is where I came to in the moment of with all the magic happening that rearranged my body and gave me the body and soul that looked like this. In that same magic, I kind of came to and realized that I had been going away from the actual very pattern itself. And so this boundary again, you can think of this as the boundary between Mizzt and Anti-Mizzt. Because like if Mizzt goes up this way, as its motion, its evolution goes up, you can move Anti-Mizztward going down it, until you reach here. But then when you reach here, you can keep moving anti-Mizztward out of the pattern altogether and into this like infinite abyss. I guess you could also think of it as a desert, but I mostly think of it as a sea because that's clearly what we have here. This is these things are what the Leviathan calls water. What entities that dwell down there call water. And I've come up to that before in kind of clearer senses of it being ether seen long ways sideways. But this is the water that the water of the night ocean that hangs on the scales of the Leviathan. This is the final dirty water that the Leviathan complains of, that it can't get itself clean within. And also this is the heat death of the universe. So, you know, what we did here, we went all the way through time and then off to the end of it where there's nothing, where everything is even, everything's just monotonous, just all trying to think of a really good poetic word. There was something on the tip of my tongue, but yeah, it's all just indistinguishable, and you can sail through it forever if you want, but I can't imagine why you'd want to do that. That's not what I want, and that's another of the real/profound reasons that I need to quit doing meth. It's just going to take me more of the same. There's no more discovery in it for me, and there is the possibility still that a time or two I may use it because I have a magical necessity, and God is showing me that that's the right thing to do. But no, for no reason should I ever continue just kind of routine recreational use, because I know for a fact now, because I've seen how it all fits together, that it's not going to, that I'm not going to learn anything, that there's nothing more to discover there. There's nothing new. So let's see what else I missed. So this below the pattern, I call this the anti-pattern, capital A. And it really surprises me that there's an anti-pattern. I would have said no. I mean, I have often said the familiar phrase that it's all it is. And this, I guess, isn't quite, like it's real. It's real, but it's not true. It happens in the context in which it happens, but it has no being or happeningness or beingness outside of that context. These angles only get used between people when they're on meth or when they're in some other kind of intensely left in path magical state. So let's see. Talked about the anti-pattern. I have an idea, a notion that my decoder eyes, so that's the little pinpricks of light that I see with different colors that I've figured out mean different things. I've begun to wonder or speculate or toy with the idea that maybe they're not useful to me anymore. That maybe I've outlived their necessity, and I speculate that maybe what I really needed my decoder eyes for was to navigate through the anti-pattern. Because, well, I'm not sure of that, but there seems to be some truth feeling to it. And also, just as far as how it works, I mean, my decoder eye signals are interference, just like trudging through murky twonesses, just like going through the anti-pattern is about seeing interference or interference patterns and kind of interpreting it, reconstructing it, figuring it out as something whole when it really wasn't something whole. It was just a little decaying waveform. So, yeah, that's that. Um, so yeah, back to the water. Just one silly thing I had written down that I figure is still worth saying. So what we have is just higher and lower amplitude interference. So these, I mean, on one level, I'm thinking this is water, just like ether sideways is water, and this is a place where the Leviathan dwells. On the other hand, I'm thinking of this as just a jumbled, messy, tied in knots kind of interference pattern, and really there are no twonesses there. There are no, these peaks and these winged objects. And honestly, I feel like that. Um, I'm overstaying my welcome with this video. That's all I had to say, and so let me finish. Good night.